news from Indonesia's pioneer news channel Metro TV. I'm Sarah Wayne and here are the main stories for today. Following the attack in Times Square by suspect Akui Yerusalem, a Bangladeshi immigrant and New York resident, the White House renewed its calls for an end to migration. Protesters demonstrated in front of the Don't Pantheon monument on Paris's left bank as hundreds of world leaders, financiers, and others gathered across town for the summit. But first, protesters in the Pakistani city of Karachi and Sri Lankan capital Colombo protested on Tuesday against U.S. President Donald Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Protesters from Islami Jamiat-e-Talaba, the student wing of the religious political party Jamaat-e-Islami, tried to march on the U.S. consulate in Karachi, but police barricaded the route to the area. In Colombo, protesters chanted slogans and condemned Trump's recognition, saying no one can own Jerusalem, adding that it belongs to Muslims, Jews, and Christians. Security in the city was also heightened around the vicinity of the U.S. Embassy. Meanwhile, authorities continue to seek information on terrorist suspect Akui Yerusalem, a Bangladeshi immigrant and New York resident who prematurely detonated an explosive on Monday morning inside one of Midtown Manhattan's busiest transit centers. Following the attack, the White House renewed its calls for an end to migration. VOA's Ramon Taylor reports.
During morning rush hour in the busy underground cross-section of New York's Port Authority bus terminal in Times Square, a male suspect identified as 27-year-old Akui Yerusalem, a Bangladeshi native, attempted and failed to properly detonate a homemade pipe bomb. The attacker, who law enforcement says was inspired by the so-called Islamic State, came to the U.S. in 2011 on an F-4 visa, known as a family preference immigrant visa, one that the Trump administration is attempting to curtail.
The president's policy has called for an end to chain migration, and if that had been in place, that would have prevented this individual from coming to the United States. So the president is aggressively going to continue to push forth responsible immigration reform, and ending chain migration would certainly be a part of that process.
The Embassy of Bangladesh condemned the act and declared that the suspected terrorist must be brought to justice. Outside his apartment in Brooklyn, a bomb squad and scores of media inundated an otherwise quiet, diverse residential neighborhood. Alan Butrico, a neighbor who runs a locksmith business down the street, says nothing seemed out of the ordinary.
He was a quiet neighbor. We had no issues with him. He'd walk by the store, he'd go shopping in the bagel store, the grocery store, hung out in the park across the street. And I thought he was just a shy kid. He never really spoke to anybody.
The suspect was being treated for burns at Manhattan's Bellevue Hospital. The 3 injured bystanders suffered minor injuries, including headaches and ringing ears. Regular traffic resumed by evening. Near the site, some local residents were shaken by the incident. Others showed a calm resolve.
The fear is always present with us, those of us that live in New York. Any sound that is not normal, your body shudders, and you look around to see whether you need to get down on it.
I don't know. I'm not scared. They're on top of the game. Yeah, they are on top of the game. Because after 9/11, none of them really succeed.
Monday's attack was the second terror-related incident in New York City in less than 2 months, and the first suspected bomb to detonate in the New York subway in 23 years.
Well, this is not the first time U.S. President Donald Trump has made controversial policies that affects both Americans and the world in general. Well, here are a few of his controversial executive orders that he signed since he became head of state.
And in many cases, illegal immigrants are taking much care, really, are taking much better care by this country, taking care of them. And this is the protection of the nation from foreign terrorist entry into the United States. We all know what that means. Protection of the nation from foreign terrorist entry into the United States. It's big stuff. a great, great wall on our southern border, and I will have Mexico pay for that wall. For 7 years, you promised the American people that you would repeal Obamacare. People are hurting. Inaction is not an option. And frankly, I don't think we should leave town unless we have a health insurance plan, unless we can give our people great health care. Because we're close. We're very close.
What they were doing, or that they wanted us to see what they were doing, was very poison. Their intrusions on different institutions.
We have declined to acknowledge any Israeli capital at all. But today we finally acknowledge the opposite, that Jerusalem is Israel's capital.
Stay with us on World News. We'll be right back after the break with more.
Anda kembali di Newsline, pemirsa. Serangan udara Israel di Gaza menewaskan 2 warga dewasa Palestina dan melukai puluhan orang lainnya. 1 di antara korban luka, bayi berusia 6 bulan. Yusuf Abu Sakian, bayi berusia 6 bulan asal Gaza yang menjadi korban serangan udara pesawat tempur Israel pada hari Jumat lalu, saat ini masih terbaring di rumah sakit dengan kondisi luka parah. Sempat dirawat di rumah sakit Indonesia di jalur Gaza Utara, Yusuf kemudian dirujuk ke rumah sakit Ashifa, rumah sakit utama yang berlokasi di pusat kota Gaza.
Menurut keterangan dokter, Yusuf mengalami luka retak di bagian tengkorak dan mendapatkan 30 jahitan di sekujur wajahnya. Tidak hanya Yusuf, ibu serta kakak perempuannya yang berusia 9 tahun juga terluka dalam serangan tersebut.
Sang ibu rencananya akan dioperasi di Rumah Sakit Indonesia pada hari Senin pagi waktu Gaza.
صار القصف هذا العمود تاع الشقة وانخبط الولد زي ما تقول باقي هان انعزق بعد 4-5 متر لجوا اجى الحرمات عليه بعد ما اجى الحرمات عليه اجى الردم فوق الحرمات والولد صار وين تحت الردم مش مبين وامه نفس الاشي اجى الفرشات عليها والردم فوق الفرشات الحين امه ايش عندها كسر في ايدها وبدهم يعملوا لها بكره عمليه في الاندونيسيا.